Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating, kind of mind-bending philosophical journey together. We are going to explore a deeply intriguing text. It's the preface to a work called The Chapter of the Greatest Creator, written by a philosopher and thinker named Xuefeng. We're going to look at his completely unique approach to some of the absolute biggest questions humanity has ever asked. You know the ones. Why are we here? Where did we actually come from? And how on earth do we understand the ultimate creative force of the universe? It is a really eye-opening look at one man's quest for ultimate meaning. So let's jump right in and see how he tried to decode the universe.
Okay, right off the bat, I want you to think about this question. Can the greatest creator create a stone he cannot lift? It's a classic philosophical paradox, right? If you say no, well, you're saying there's something the creator cannot create. But if you say yes, you're saying there's a stone the creator cannot lift. Either way, it totally seems to defeat the idea of an all-powerful being. It's one of those riddles that has literally stumped logicians for centuries. But our author today, Xuefeng, actually claims to have solved it. To figure out how he dismantled this puzzle, we first need to understand the man himself.
All right, Section 1. The Seeker. 46 years, over 20 paths. Long before Xuefeng was writing treatises on the fundamental nature of the universe, he was simply a seeker trying to survive and find his way. And let me tell you, his life was anything but a straight line. Over 20. Yep, you heard that right. That is the staggering number of completely distinct, vastly different professions Xuefeng took on over his lifetime. He wasn't just sitting in some ivory tower theorizing. He was out there in the grit of the real world, actively searching for life's meaning through an immense variety of human experiences. I mean, we are literally talking about a guy who worked as a shepherd, a real estate developer, a middle school teacher, an auto mechanic, and a nightclub manager. He was also a farmer, a translator, an electrician, the whole shebang. He lived in rural areas, small towns, massive cities. So his philosophy isn't just theoretical. It's totally grounded in deep, relatable human struggle and this relentless drive to understand the world from every possible angle.
So what actually sparked this massive, intense search? Well, Xuefeng writes, "A mysterious car accident I experienced personally prompted me to start exploring the meaning of life." That was his wake-up call. It was a life-or-death moment that forced him to aggressively question the ultimate purpose of his existence. He realized that living a vague, confused life without a clear goal was basically like being a cloud just floating aimlessly. He needed to know, if everything in the universe is governed by strict laws and rules, what was the inevitable purpose of his own existence?
Which brings us to Section 2, the limits of knowledge, when standard answers fall short. This was a really critical realization in his journey. Xuefeng realized that the standard avenues of human fulfillment, the places we usually look for answers, they just weren't answering his existential questions. He systematically looked at the traditional pillars of society. Wealth? Well, millionaires are clearly still searching for life's purpose. Power? Historical emperors definitely didn't leave us an instruction manual for existence. He considered science, realizing that even greats like Newton and Einstein still didn't know our ultimate origins. He even dove deep into religion, reading the Bible, exploring Buddhism, but he found himself left with unanswered questions about why suffering exists and the precise, exact mechanics of what happens in the afterlife. He actually points to the renowned scientist Stephen Hawking for this. Hawking said, "At the singularity of the Big Bang, general relativity and all other physical laws break down." For Xuefeng, this perfectly proves his point. Even the absolute elite of human science hits a wall. When we try to explain the very initial structure of the universe, our standard physical laws literally just stop working.
Okay, moving to Section 3, the sixth perception, a direct connection. Because honestly, what do you do when human knowledge hits a brick wall? You try to find a direct connection.
So let's break down this core concept, because it is absolutely crucial to understanding his work. Xuefeng argues that humans possess something called spiritual awareness. And here's the kicker. He doesn't view this as some rare, mystical superpower. He sees it as a totally innate biological instinct. Just like we use our eyes, our ears, and our hands to navigate the material world, we use this sixth perception, our spiritual awareness, to communicate with the non-material world. To explain why not everyone actually feels this connection, he uses this brilliant sensory analogy. He asks, if someone is completely blind, how can you prove to them that light exists? You really can't, right? Because without vision, they simply cannot perceive light. Similarly, Xuefeng argues, if a person's spiritual awareness is dull or obscured, they just can't perceive the greatest creator. It's not that the creator doesn't exist, it's that the person lacks the sharpened sense to tune in. Just like bad eyesight requires glasses, a dull spiritual awareness requires the enhancement of wisdom.
All right, Section 4. Reframing the universe, solving the paradox. Now that we have his framework in mind, let's circle back to that impossible riddle from the beginning.
Xuefeng essentially argues that the paradox isn't a true test of omnipotence at all. Actually, it's a linguistic trap. Think about it like asking someone, "Are you a thing?" If you answer, "I am a thing," well, that sounds pretty insulting. But if you say, "I am not a thing," that also sounds insulting. It's a double negative specifically designed to force a denial no matter what you say. He believes the unliftable stone paradox is exactly the same, a trick devised to confuse people's spirituality and distract them from seeking the truth.
So, the real secret here is how we define our terms. Xuefeng gets a little Socratic and asks, what does the word lifting actually mean in the first place? Does it mean holding a stone with both hands and pushing it up above your head? Because if so, we have to seriously reevaluate how spatial mechanics work in a massive universe.
Picture this. What if the stone in the paradox is actually the Earth itself? Xuefeng proposes this crazy mental exercise. What if you stand upside down? You hold the Earth with both hands. Is the Earth above your head? You'd probably say no, it's below me. Okay, well what if you move 360 degrees along the Earth meridian while doing this? At some point, out there in the vastness of space where there's no true up or down, the Earth would technically be above your head.
And boom, there it is. Just by changing your physical orientation, you could technically say you've lifted the Earth. The paradox only works if you rely on a limited gravity-bound, purely human understanding of physics. By zooming out to a cosmic scale, Xuefeng completely neutralizes the trap. He concludes that the greatest creator can absolutely create stones under any conditions and can lift stones under any conditions. It's entirely a matter of perspective.
Once he got past these logical traps, Xuefeng explains how he finally hit his ultimate breakthrough. Inspired by a passage he read in the Quran about needing authority to pass beyond the heavens, he decided to rely purely on that spiritual awareness we talked about. Since humans are a connected part of the universe, like how a prick on your toe is instantly felt by your brain, he believed he could essentially send a thought fax straight to the greatest creator. And according to his text, establishing this direct connection is what allowed the origins of life, the universe, and even 36-dimensional spaces to just gradually appear on the screen of his mind, finally giving him the answers he spent his whole life searching for.
Which brings us right to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with a question. We've just explored the life of a man who worked 20 different jobs, totally rejected standard answers, defined a biological sixth sense, and literally mentally flipped the Earth upside down just to understand his own existence. So, based on the framework we looked at today, how do you perceive your purpose? Are you just relying on standard everyday knowledge, or are you trying to tune into your own spiritual awareness? Thank you so much for exploring this deeply fascinating text with me, and definitely keep seeking your own answers.